You're bananas.
And what is going on, guys? Kieran Hedley here. So today we're continuing the fat loss series. I'm very amped for this actually. I've even got a whiteboard this time, which is pretty cool. Got a little mic attached. We're updated, we're upgraded. Look at this. I'm doing YouTube like how it should be, okay? It's pretty cool. I literally got this for like 30 bucks. So we're gonna see how the sound quality comes out on the podcast, and I might use it for the YouTube one or my camera, I'm not sure. Unfortunately, the G7X doesn't really have a mic input, so I can't use my dope ass Rode mic Pro or Go, whatever the heck it is. I'm not really a mic guy or camera guy. I don't really know much about this stuff, but this is what we're going to be talking about today, if you can actually read it because of the light. But it's basically all about calories in versus calories out, and the depth this goes to, guys. You will not believe the depth that it goes into. So and the depth that's actually required to understand when it comes to fat loss, and why it's possible that you've been on a diet for so long and for some reason you keep plateauing and you can't figure out why, and you can't figure out how to get past your plateau. So this is an understanding as to why this is happening, so you can go about fixing it. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into it. So calories in versus calories out. Understanding this is going to help you get past any plateau. I guarantee it, once you understand it, because then you can find out the root cause why. And then from that root cause, you can figure out how to overcome that root cause, therefore solving the problem rather than the symptom. So the symptom is, oh, I'm stuck. Okay, so a lot of the time we fix that symptom by either decreasing food intake or increasing output. That's a traditional bodybuilder way to go about it, which is, it's true. Like, that's what we need to do. We need to alter the energy expenditure in some way, or energy intake in some way. So hence the reduction in calories a lot of the time, and why bodybuilders get so low on calories. Now, this is very optimal when it comes to bodybuilding, because you've got a short period of time, all right, normally 15, 16, sometimes up to 20 weeks, all right, sometimes longer, where you're preparing for a competition. All right, and now what happens over this period of time is incrementally the metabolism drops. All right, it keeps dropping over time, and therefore we need to keep decreasing food intake and increasing output, which is very optimal. The problem is it's not sustainable. So this channel isn't about bodybuilding, it's about sustainability. So if you've come here just to get ripped and stay lean for a show, and then to, you know, have your cheat meals and things like that, which is nothing wrong with that. It's obviously not healthy, but like, doing it a little bit here and there is absolutely not going to kill you. But this particular channel is about sustainability. It's about how to get lean and stay lean, which is what we're about here. So that's what the goal is here, to overcome the mindful struggles, but also the physical struggles, then the mental struggles and spiritual struggles that people run into when they plateau in fat loss, and also when it comes to mindfulness. But today, again, part of the fat loss series, calories in versus calories out. So understanding this in the most simple form, first of all, is knowing that it works like a scale. So imagine you've got a general scale, okay, it's a balance, okay, so you've got two different ends, okay. One end is how many calories you're eating, and one end is how many calories you're eating. All right, so now what happens is, if the calories you're eating is heavier than the calories you're burning, you're going to put on weight. All right, so that scale is going to alter, where the calories in, okay, goes up, all right, and the calories out stays the same. But what happens is the balance moves, all right, which means that ultimately there's going to be a gap between how many calories you're eating versus how many calories you're excreting, you're utilizing, basically. All right, so what happens now is that once you've actually, when you're only burning through, for example, 2,000 calories a day, but you're eating 2,500 calories a day, this is just an example, all right? I'm gonna use a female as an example. All right, say this was occurring, you're going to put on 500 calories worth of storage, okay, essentially, okay, theoretically. that's going to happen. Now, over that week, that ends up being 3,500 calories if you do that consistently, all right? If you do that on a consistent daily basis. Now, usually, based off, again, theories, usually around about 3,000 calories accrues 1 pound of body fat. So if you've just eaten over 3,500 calories over your metabolism, your metabolic rate, all right, your TDEE, all right, your TDEE, which I'll explain in a second, is your total daily energy expenditure, which is how much energy you're expending basically daily collectively. Now, if you're again only expending 3,500 calories less than what you're eating on a weekly basis, you've put on just over 1 pound of body fat, theoretically. All right. Again, this is just based off certain math. All right, based off certain theories, based off certain scientific studies. So it's not going to be absolutely perfect, and we never really know 100% what our exact expenditure for that day is, unless you get those trackers, which aren't even 100% anyway. So that's obviously going to be the closest you're going to get to it, but it's going to give you a general idea anyway. But the idea is we're trying to alter this so that you obviously can, instead of storing 1 pound of body fat a week, you're going to be losing about 1 pound of body fat a week. Okay, so that's sort of where we would want to be. My ideal weight loss is usually between 750 grams and 1 kg per week. When it comes to weight loss, sometimes as low as 500 grams when you get very lean is actually pretty ideal per week. That's just my personal biased opinion based off the more sustainable approach, and also so that you do get less of a bounce back, you get less of a metabolic restriction when it comes to your metabolism dropping, because it doesn't need to achieve homeostasis as quickly. Because when you crash diet, your metabolism is like, holy crap, what do I have to do to survive? I need to adapt to homeostasis. Don't kill me, Kieran. Give me food. And if you don't, I'm going to drop my energy expenditure. So that's what happens, okay? It drops its energy expenditure and your body decides to burn less energy. All right, so we're going to get into that in a second, which is actually right now because it's been a second. All right, so you've got 4 things that add up to your TDEE, your total daily energy expenditure. So we're going to get into calories in a second, but calories out is what we're focusing on at the moment, your energy out. So you've got your RMR or your BMR, so resting or basal metabolic rate, all right, makes up roughly, again, this is based off rough stats, 70% of your total expenditure, of your total average person's expenditure. All right, I really need a sip of coffee right now because it's going cold, and I'm sorry, I just really need some coffee. Oh yeah, that's good. Okay. So that makes up roughly 70%. So basal or resting metabolic rate is basically a perfect example. Is if you woke up in the morning, you didn't eat, you didn't move, you didn't do anything. That's how many calories your body will need to function. All right. So your organs to function, your body to function, your heart to beat, your brain to operate, all that stuff. Okay, that's your resting metabolic rate. So that's how many calories your body is using just to live and function, okay? Because you burn so many calories for every gallon of oxygen. It's things like 5 calories per gallon of oxygen you go through as well. So it's just those are perfect examples. Okay, so now you've also got NEAT, which make up 15% of your TDEE. So NEAT is your net energy activity thermogenesis is the scientific phrase, which means that's how many calories you burn through general activity. Okay, so that's just, just general activity. So it's basically activity, like you're walking, you're moving around, doing a little bit of jumping here and there, maybe lifting some heavy stuff, you know what I mean? So that's going to be your NEAT. All right, now moving on, you've got your TEF, which is your thermogenic, I've forgotten. Hold on, TEF. It's food basically, but it's the thermogenesis around food. But I'm trying to remember the exact phrase. The exact phrase is thermic effect of food. All right, is the exact phrase. So if you want the exact phrase, thermic effect of food. All right, so it's how much energy your body utilizes in order to basically digest food, essentially. So what I mean by that is certain foods require more energy to convert into energy. So when you consume something that's heavy protein like chicken or steak, it takes a lot more energy for the body to convert that into energy from its solid form, if that makes sense. Now there's also EAT as well, which actually surprisingly makes up a very minimal amount. So EAT is your energy activity thermogenesis, which actually only makes up 5% on average, okay, which is crazy. And this is the scary thing. We think that by, maybe, this is on the average person though, just remember, all right? So I don't want you to get the wrong idea, but even looking at the average person, if you look at the rough mathematics of it, the average person, if they don't, say, go to the gym for 45 minutes a day, 5-6 times a week, and they don't do the cardio, they might not go for a run every day, but this is just them being generally active, okay? They might go for a hike every now and again, they might walk a lot for the job, or they might go for a run on the beach every now and again, or they might do F45 if you're from Australia or New Zealand, which is a cool little group fitness workout. So the average person goes through only 5% of their activity through their actual exercise, which is why we really need to watch how everything comes into play and affects our NEAT, our RMR, and our TEF, okay? Because that's going to make up 95% of our actual activity, which is really interesting. And it's very interesting how food comes into play here, hormones come into play here, a lot of different factors come into play here. All right, so it's really interesting how it's not just about your metabolism staying the same and then you just simply eating less and doing more and then continually doing that until you reach your desired body weight. Unfortunately, that's not the case, and unfortunately that's not a very sustainable approach, because it is a very basic approach, and it's definitely suggested, but if you're not moving, if it's not working, why do it? Why would you keep doing something and keep chipping away with a blunt axe at a tree that's not going to fall? So you're essentially not really chipping away at the body fat at all if you hit a plateau and you keep trying to decrease food and increase activity, unless you go to the extremes, which isn't obviously healthy. But in short term, it's okay, but it's not sustainable, okay? Which is why, again, it's more for the bodybuilding sport. We're looking more at the sustainability side of things. So the next thing to look at, okay, is the metabolism equation, okay? So what builds up your metabolism? All right, so again, this does come down to things like, the food that you eat also has a thermic effect on the body, all right? But also things like your hormones, your gut, your cells, and your nutrients that you consume, okay? Whether you're too low or too high in certain nutrients or whatever. So hormones, okay, if you've got a poor hormonal balance, a perfect example is if you have high cortisol, okay, it's going to come into the stress factor, but cortisol actually restricts fat loss through slowing metabolism, okay? It slows the metabolic rate of your cell, meaning you're not going to convert energy as efficiently, meaning your calories out actually goes down. Plus, because when you're stressed, your NEAT normally goes down, your net energy, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, that's what it's called. Sorry, I got it wrong before. Non-exercise activity thermogenesis, that's a mouthful. Not net energy. Okay, non-exercise. So you're going to move around a lot more when you're less stressed. When you're stressed, you're not going to move around as much. That's just generally what happens. The body slows down, okay? So that's what usually happens to that case. Now, another example for hormones, if you've got an estrogen-testosterone imbalance, generally if the estrogen's super high or super low balance-wise, your energy depletes. You've got a very low energy state, therefore you're not going to use as much energy. All right, therefore you're more likely in a storage state. You're going to bloat. A whole lot of issues go on. Another example, your serotonin is low, which actually kicks up cortisol. Again, you're not going to feel good. You're not going to want to move. Your dopamine's low. You're not going to want to move around. You're not going to be less happy, satisfied with life. The reward system's not going, so you're not motivated to continue because the reward system in your brain is not operating properly. So those are some of a few examples. Okay, thyroid hormone, when that's high, you restrict a lot of energy because that affects cell metabolism again. Affects a massive amount of your energy as well. Like if you've ever had hypothyroidism or anything like that, that's actually quite common in females, unfortunately. This can cause issues around that. Now, another example as well, I'm just going to continue with examples, actually. I'm going to slow down in a second, but insulin, okay? When insulin is, when you've got low levels of insulin, your body's in a high demand for insulin, leading to sugar cravings, leading to issues like that, okay? Another one is when insulin's constantly spiking, it's going to drop. When it drops, you're going to get those cravings again. So when there's that alteration in insulin and it's not moving in a smooth way, which is where we're really controlling our insulin, then you're more likely to get cravings and more likely to binge. Insulin's not, sugar's not the enemy, it's calories. What sugar does is it triggers the enemy. Okay, just remember that. Okay, just if you can think that around yourself for a moment, that's going to really help. The other thing that insulin does is it affects your hormone ghrelin. Ghrelin is your hunger hormone. It's also a fat storage hormone, and it also affects leptin. Okay, so leptin's your fat burning hormone. So when that drops, which happens through, which can happen, okay, through dieting, then your fat burning is going to decrease. Your ghrelin is going to go up, which means your hunger is going to go up, and you're going to be more hungry than you need to be, than you actually are. Thinking your brain basically telling yourself that you need food even if you don't. So there's all that sort of stuff. Now, gut health. When the gut's inflamed, it leads to gut-brain axis inflammation, leading to brain inflammation. Okay, this secretes a whole lot of stress hormone. This leads to slow cellular metabolism. This leads to a lower metabolism. This also leads to your immune system slowing down mitochondria efficiency. Mitochondria is a membrane in the cell that takes energy that you eat and converts it into energy that you use. Now, all right, if you're, the reason why mitochondria efficiency slows down, so it becomes deficient, okay, so it's, it just slows down basically, it's the best way to put it, all right, is because your immune system's focused on inflammation. Now, when your immune system's focused on inflammation due to finite resources, your body only has so many resources, we're not infinite, we don't have infinite resources in us, that'll be amazing, but we don't, unfortunately. What this does is by all this concentration of inflammation, okay, it's not only slowing down metabolism through the inflammation itself, but also through the act of producing inflammatory cells, using those resources. What happens is, because of our inflammation, okay, so in the gut, because there's healing that needs to be going on in the gut, then what happens is ultimately our resources aren't focused on cell metabolism, it's focused on inflammation. Therefore, since the focus isn't on cell metabolism, it slows down. Okay. The other and things that cause gut health issues is a lot of the time inflammatory foods like trans fats, processed foods, lactose, gluten, sugar, other inflammatory properties like red meat. Okay, so it's too much of this causes inflammation. A little bit is okay. Okay, just remember that. So that's why I say a little bit of sugar is fine, a little bit of red meat's fine. Just be smart with it. Okay, don't overdo it. All right. Another thing, okay, cells, remember what I talked about, cellular metabolism, okay, this slows down, this speeds up, whatever, okay. When you're in a anabolic state rather than a catabolic state, okay, your cells are rebuilding themselves, are renewing at a faster pace. All right, so for example, your digestive tract, all the cells in the digestive tract renew every 4 days. Your skeleton renews every 6. I was at 10% of your skeleton renews every year or something like that. So every 10 years, you've got a whole new skeleton, which is insane. So that's just an example of how quickly your cells are renewing themselves. But the pace and the rate that it speeds up when you're in a surplus is higher than, and it breaks down as you're in a deficit. Okay, so just remembering that, and that's why cellular metabolism slows down as you decrease energy intake and things like that. Okay, now nutrients. So if you're, say, depleted in things like selenium, okay, selenium is going to lead to thyroid issues if you're lacking in selenium, or potassium, or things like iron and things like B vitamins. Okay, they're all going to come in and negatively affect your thyroid issues, your energy. Things like vitamin C affects your cortisol. Things like let's go with B12 specifically, okay, and B6 and folate all affect your gut health. Okay, so those are just examples of how nutrients, if you're low in certain nutrients, is going to affect certain areas of your body, leading to a lower and slower metabolism. Okay, so you don't want to be low on these nutrients because they're all going to affect you in some way. All right, cool. Now, finally, moving on from there. Okay. There's usually, if you're in a deficit currently, so remember we're talking about energy in versus energy out. We're not specifically talking about how to improve fat loss right now. That's going to be for a later episode. I'm just simply educating you guys on how the energy in versus energy out works. So remember, energy in, it comes down to what you're consuming. Energy out comes to this massive equation of things that I'm going over. Okay, so your energy out will usually around about the 4 to 6 week mark of a diet will normally drop. Okay, so your body's going to start to adjust homeostasis wise. So your body has a homeostasis where it basically is just looking for survival. All it wants to do is to survive. So it drops its metabolism in order to match your food, the food that you're consuming, because you're eating less, right, in order to survive, because it thinks it's going to it will literally eventually die if it just lets you do that, because eventually you're going to lose all the stored energy. Okay, the body wants to store energy because that stored energy could be used for later when you're in the jungle with no food for 10 days. So if you get what I mean. So this is, this is backtracking to our ancestors when they were struggling around that stuff. So hence why we've got all these survival mechanisms in our system. So that 4 to 6 week mark is usually where that homeostasis drops, okay? Hence why our metabolism drops, and hence why every 2 to 3 weeks, bodybuilders like to adjust their calories in or calories out in order to beat that, so that homeostasis and that doesn't occur, all right? So, but on the contrary, if you get past that 4 to 6 week mark, since hormones are affected, since cellular metabolism is affected, it can, as soon as that adjusts, not even kidding you, there's studies showing it can take up to 6 months. This is more after a bodybuilding diet though, so this is usually after a 12-week diet, and there was studies done on this. There was a 12-week diet phase that women did, and it took many women up to 6 months to recover fully from it metabolic wise. So the metabolism didn't increase back to normal until 6 months later for the majority of them. Okay, some of them quicker, some of them a little bit slower, but yeah, 6 months is the general mark, which is quite scary. So hence why I like to do this in a sustainable way and utilize diet breaks every 4 to 6 weeks. Usually I'm going to give the client a little bit of a break for about a week, then I'm going to continue. Sometimes even if I go 8 to 10 weeks, I'll give them a 2-week break. So it's just breaking it up a little bit, and it's not going aggressive either. I don't go super aggressive with it. All right, so sorry guys on my podcast, and sorry guys on YouTube, my camera died, so it's sort of cut down the middle. But anyway, it's back to normal. It's back working again because I just started recording again. We're almost done. So stress factor, everything slows down when you're very stressed. If you're not stressed enough, now there's something called good stress, hence working out causes cortisol to rise. Moving around causes cortisol to work. Fasting helps cortisol. Improves cellular metabolism, only on certain circumstances. If you're overdoing it, depletes hormones, so it actually counters the effect anyway. So don't fast every single bloody day. That's my advice anyway, unless you want to restrict calories completely without tracking them. Then that's usually what I'll get my parents to do, for example. I'll get them to fast, because then they eat less over the day because they don't want to track their food. Basically they lose weight because they're eating less calories. So that's usually what happens. But anyway, putting that aside, okay, different ways to increase stress or decrease stress. Decrease stress, you can drop cortisol by 33% over 6 weeks if you meditate for 10 minutes a day based off a single study. It doesn't mean it's going to be, so that doesn't mean it's perfect. So it means it gives you a general idea that it's going to massive effect on cortisol, bringing that down and lowering it pretty well. And also things like serotonin, which is one of your happy hormones. There's a massive link between gratitude and practicing gratitude. Okay, doing a gratitude journal, speaking gratitude aloud, imagining it, really feeling it. Okay, feeling gratitude actually increases serotonin, leading to decrease in cortisol, leading to a better stress factor for the body. And that is basically it. Okay, so that comes into the equation of improving metabolism. So ultimately, you want to do a lot in terms of improving your stress factor in a healthy way. You want to improve gut health in a healthy way. You want to improve the nutrient balance in your body in a healthy way. You need to improve the hormonal state in a healthy way. Gut health, if I didn't already say it. And your cell health in a healthy way. Okay, CoQ10 is a perfect example of a nutrient, a supplement you can get, a vitamin that you can get to improve cellular metabolism. That's just one example of over many. Okay, so but ultimately, as long as your body's in an overall healthy state, your metabolism is going to be super high, and if you take care of it, everything's going to be good and operating efficiently. Hence the improved fat loss, and hence why I can sit on almost 3,000 calories a day, sometimes a little bit more, and still be in a deficit and still be almost as lean as I was when I competed in a competition, which is freaking awesome when I was on 1,300 calories when I was competing. But that's because I'm taking care of my body. I'm doing diet breaks. I'm doing a prolonged fast once a week. I'm not really intermittent fasting every day, because that can deplete hormones. I'm taking care of my gut. I'm doing all sorts that are actually putting me in a healthy state. So ultimately, it's awesome. And that's how you do it, guys. That's the educational side of that anyway. So again, that's calories in versus calories out on the fat loss side of things, part 3. Okay, so the fat loss series, part 3. Yeah. There we go. All right, so that's it. That's everything, guys. If you're on podcast, remember to subscribe to the podcast, and very important. Okay, guys, on YouTube, go to Pocket Coach on any podcast platform, and you will find this in audio form, and as well as the other 2 episodes, and as well as episodes to come. So that's very exciting. A lot of educational stuff again on how to create your own fat loss plan. So this is all based off science. Remember that, guys. Now, if you're on podcast, head across to YouTube, Kieran Hedley Fitness. All right, if you're already on YouTube, go subscribe and like and comment and share and do all that stuff, which is dope. If you're on the podcast, rate a 5-star, obviously, guys. 4.5 star doesn't quite cut it. No, I'm kidding. If it's 4.5 star, I'm still pretty damn happy. I'm not gonna lie. Can you even rate 4.5 stars? No, I don't think you can. 4 stars in. Okay, there you go. And reviews are welcome. Any critique is welcome. Honestly, guys, I'm serious. Like I love critique. It really does help. Obviously, as long as you're not a little dick about it, then I'm gonna be pretty happy about it. So thank you. Anyway, guys, that's it. That's everything. Once again, thank you so much for listening to this Kiwi nutter go on about scuxing it up, even though I didn't mention scuxing at all. For you, anyone that's out of New Zealand that doesn't know what a scux is, all right? Scux is a good-looking person that attracts, a really cool person that attracts the opposite sex by definition, apparently. But it's a New Zealand slang word. Basically, we just say it to dudes. We're like, oh, what a scux, if they're a really cool person, usually. Not even attractive, they're just really cool. But anyway, thanks again for listening, guys. Remember to subscribe, and please share it with anyone that you might know that it would help, as I'm trying to reach and impact as many people as possible through this social media platform. Bzz. Bzz, like with plural. Yeah. Okay. Catch you later, guys. Cheers. Have a great day. Bye.